Hello, this is Mesos Orum. Welcome to Understanding S.F.M.L. Today, we'll be learning about textures and sprites. The texture function load_from_file will load a texture based on our string address input. If it is unable to load from a file, we will send an error. Load_from_file is also able to convert into sRGB color space, which shouldn't have to be done, so we leave it false here. We are also able to change what part of our texture is being shown, this being the default as our texture is 32 by 32. S.F.M.L sprites do not have a default constructor, so we must input our texture at our start. If we open the debug menu, we can see that our sprite is being shown with our texture. The texture function getMaximumSize will return the maximum width or height of a texture allowed on your system. So if we open the debug menu, we can see that my system allows a 16,384 square pixel texture. The texture function getSize will return how large our texture is in pixels in the X and Y directions. Note that this will be affected by our area portion of our load_from_file function. So if we were to open the debug menu, we would get that the size of our texture is 16 by 32, and our texture would be cut in half. The texture function setRepeated will tile our texture in both the X and Y directions. Note that this will only work if our sprite's texture rectangle is larger than the texture itself. So if we open the debug menu, we can see that our texture is now a 2 by 2 grid of tiles. Instead of at start, we can also later on set our sprite's texture rectangle. The texture function setSmooth will smooth all of our texture's pixels together. So if we open the debug menu, we can see that our texture is a bit blurry. So I just like to leave this as false. The texture function isRepeated returns whether our texture is repeated or not. The texture function isSmooth returns whether our texture is smooth or not. And the texture function isSRGB returns whether our texture is sRGB or not. The texture function swap will take the file and all the settings of one texture and swap them with another. So if we were to open the debug menu, we can see that our texture has changed. The sprite function getTexture will return the texture that our sprite is holding. This line here is redundant, but it's an example of how we would use it. Finally, we may change the color of our sprite, but this is best used if our sprite is in grayscale. If we open the debug menu, we can see that our sprite is a little more green. Thank you for joining me today. If you did, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day.